I want to start with something small, a stone basin. There is one on a street corner near where I was reading about all this, and there is almost certainly one somewhere near you if you know to look. A carved stone basin, waist height, set into a wall or standing on a plinth, often quite ornate, sometimes with a dedication carved into it, a name, a date, occasionally a short line about the public good. And it is dry. The pipe has been capped, the tap is gone or seized. Frequently there is a planter in the basin now, or litter, or nothing at all. It is street furniture. People walk past it every day and do not know what it is. That basin was built to give water away, free, to anyone, forever. Somebody paid for it specifically so that a stranger they would never meet could have a drink without asking permission or producing money. And I keep coming back to a simple question that turns out to be much harder than it sounds. Who turned it off? Water used to be something a city gave you. I should say at the start that I went into this expecting to find a villain, and I did not find one. Or rather, I found about 6, none of which is sufficient on its own. That turned out to be more interesting than a conspiracy, because what actually happened is that a piece of civic infrastructure that existed on every continent was dismantled gradually for a series of individually reasonable decisions by people who were mostly not coordinating with each other. And at the end of that process, a global industry worth several $100 billion a year sells us the thing that used to sit on the corner for nothing. Nobody planned that. It happened anyway. To understand what was lost, you have to understand how deliberate the building of it was. In 1859 in London, an organization was founded called the Metropolitan Free Drinking Fountain Association. Its purpose was explicit, and it was stated in its charter to provide free, clean drinking water in public places. Within 5 years, it had built more than 80 fountains in London. By the end of the century, it had built hundreds, and it had added troughs for horses and cattle. The name changed to reflect it, because a working city in 1870 ran on animals that also needed to drink. The model spread. Fountains were built across Britain, across Europe, across the United States, across the colonies. In many American cities, the fountains were funded by the temperance movement, and the logic there is worth understanding because it is not what people assume. The temperance argument was not primarily moral, it was practical. If a working man walking through a city in 1880 was thirsty, the reliable place to get a drink was a saloon. Beer was safer than most available water, and it was the only thing on offer. The fountains were built to compete with the bar. Give a man clean water for free on the street, and he does not have to go inside. By 1900, public drinking fountains were standard civic infrastructure in essentially every major city in the industrialized world. Not a charity, not a novelty. Infrastructure, in the same category as street lighting and pavements. Something a city simply had. The dismantling happened in stages, and the first stage was genuinely about disease. Early public fountains typically had a common cup, a tin or brass vessel on a chain used by everyone. As germ theory became established, this was correctly identified as a serious public health problem. Kansas banned the common drinking cup in 1909. Other states followed rapidly. Within a few years, the shared cup was effectively gone from American public life. This did not have to mean the end of the fountain. The engineering response was the bubbler, the upward arcing jet you drink from without touching, patented in various forms around 1910 and refined through the following decades. The fountains that were built with bubblers survived. Many of the ornate Victorian basins, which had been designed around the cup, did not get retrofitted. They were simply capped. The first significant wave of losses was not a decision to end public water. It was a decision not to spend money updating a specific kind of hardware. The second stage was uglier, and I am not going to skip it. Across the American South, under segregation, public drinking fountains were duplicated and labeled by race. The photographs are well known. The colored fountain was routinely the inferior installation, worse maintained, worse sited, sometimes not chilled where the white fountain was. When segregation was legally dismantled, a number of municipalities responded to desegregation orders not by integrating the fountains, but by removing them entirely. The same thing happened to public swimming pools across the South in the same period, and it is much better documented there. Rather than share the facility was closed. That is a real mechanism, and it accounts for a genuine portion of the American losses. It is not the whole story, but any version of this that leaves it out is not telling you the truth. The third stage was money, and it is the least dramatic and probably the largest. Public fountains require maintenance. Pipes freeze, valves seize, basins block, water quality has to be tested. A fountain is a small, permanent claim on a municipal budget forever. Through the fiscal crises of the 1970s and 1980s across the United States and Britain and beyond, city budgets were cut and non-essential maintenance lines were the first to go. A capped fountain saves money immediately and generates no complaints from anyone who does not already know it used to work. And the fourth stage is the one that turns this from an ordinary story of municipal decline into something I find genuinely uncomfortable. Bottled water in the United States was a marginal product into the 1970s. By 2016, it had overtaken carbonated soft drinks to become the largest beverage category in the country by volume. The global market is now valued in the hundreds of billions of dollars annually. A substantial share of it, in the United States, a large share by most estimates, is municipal tap water, filtered, bottled and sold at a markup that routinely exceeds 1,000 times the cost of the same water from a tap. The word that appears in the municipal records is decommissioned. I want to sit on that word for a second because it is a beautiful piece of administrative language. Decommissioned. It is what you do to a warship. It implies a thing that has completed its service, that has reached the natural end of its useful life, that is being honorably retired. The fountains had not completed anything. Water had not stopped being necessary. People did not stop being thirsty in 1974. Decommissioned describes a budget decision in the language of a ceremony. Now, the counter-argument, and it deserves a full hearing because there is a strong version of it. The strong version says, this is not a conspiracy and it is barely even a decline. Public water access in most wealthy countries is better now than in 1900 by every measure that matters, because water is piped directly into essentially every building. The 19th century street fountain existed because most people did not have a reliable tap at home. Once they did, the street fountain became genuinely less necessary. And maintaining ornate Victorian hardware in freezing climates for a use case that had largely evaporated is a poor use of public money. The public health concerns were real. The maintenance costs are real. Bottled water succeeded because it was convenient and portable, not because anyone turned off a tap to create demand for it. I take that seriously. I think most of it is correct. But here is what it does not account for. The argument assumes the relevant person is at home. The people for whom a public fountain is not a redundant convenience but a genuine necessity are precisely the people who are not at home. Someone working outdoors, someone walking a long distance, someone without housing, a child in a park, anyone in a heat wave. For that person, the disappearance of free public water is not a marginal loss of amenity. It is the conversion of a basic biological requirement into a purchase. And the fountains did not come back when we noticed. That is the part I keep returning to. Cities across the world have run bottled water reduction campaigns, climate adaptation plans, heat action plans, and the rebuilding of public water infrastructure at anything like 19th century density has not happened anywhere. We know it was better. We did not put it back. I want to end somewhere other than outrage, because I do not think anybody stole this. What happened to public water is not a heist. It is a series of small, reasonable decisions, each defensible in isolation, made across a century by people who were not talking to each other, which collectively removed something that a previous generation had built deliberately and thought of as permanent. The Victorians who funded those basins were not sentimental people. They were hard-headed municipal reformers who had decided, on entirely practical grounds, that a city should give its inhabitants water. They carved their names into the stone because they expected the fountains to outlast them. And they were right. The stone is still there. It is only the water that stopped. And I think what unsettles me is not that we lost it. It is that we walk past it. Every one of those dry basins is a message from people who assumed we would keep it running. And we do not read them as messages. We read them as decoration. Water used to be something a city gave you. Now it is something a city permits you to buy. Nobody announced that change. It just finished. If the things that were dismantled without anyone deciding to dismantle them are the kind of history you want more of, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.